What is up, guys? It is me, Chalita Suave, here with another video, and we're going to talk about workflow. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at Studio One. This is my new DAW, and that's what we're making this video. And I want to show you some things that I did that I feel like everyone should do just to make their Studio One experience a lot better. Now, number one, let's just talk about when you first open up Studio One. I'm going to go ahead and show you my DAW here. So this is just like a little project that I've been working on. But one thing that you really need to do when you first load up Studio One, if I come over here to the preferences, number one, make sure your audio interface is put as the playback and recording device. But then on song setup, you get to this, your I/O. Okay, I'm going to go reset to default, yes, and apply. Just to commit it to this project. Okay. And then, as you see, everything should be good. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you first open up Studio One. No matter what interface you have, it's probably not going to show up like this. So if I'm going to do that, highlight it by clicking Shift, holding Shift, and then clicking the very last one, and then I'm going to hit Remove. So oftentimes when you first open Studio One, you're lucky if you get anything at all. This is usually what you're going to look at. You're probably not going to see anything but this screen where there's nothing on it. So what you want to do, the easiest way to go about it is come over here all the way to the end, and then what you're going to do is add mono until you see an M pop up on 24. So I'm just going to keep adding it, and you'll see what I mean. See, that M stands for mono track. Now I'm done. So now all of my stuff has been lined up one-to-one. If I hit apply, just so you can see, if you have a mic plugged into your interface on a specific input, see this right here? This is telling me this is the mic you guys are listening to right here. If that isn't popping up, that means your setup is not correct. You're not doing it right. So it should be correct. In fact, I have an instrument cable on number 1 here, so I'm pretty sure if I touch it, you should see some spikes there. Yeah. So anytime you're going to open up Studio One, and if you haven't done it already, go ahead and do that. And then once you're done, you're going to want to hit Make Default. But this isn't my default, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my default by doing Reset, boom, and Apply. And then it'll be back to my settings and the way I have it, just so that I can see where my stuff is plugged in one-to-one automatically. So, and then the same thing on the outputs, you would do the same thing. Now, number one, you see this Q-Mix box. If you don't see this on your outputs, it's because you did mono. Don't do mono outputs. You don't really want to do mono outputs. Unless you're reamping, then maybe leave one channel for some reamping, but for the most part, most of you aren't going to need that. So I'm going to once again show you on this side of things. I'm literally just going to shift, remove, boom. So now I have like nothing to go out of. Usually you'll see the main out, so it won't let me delete the main out. And then I'm just going to go all the way to the end again. So it should be the same amount, 24, and just add stereo all the way until I see it. There, boom, I'm done. And then you can label each track, blah, blah, and whatever you're going to be your Q mixes, just check that mark there. So once again, make it as default once you're done, but I'm not going to do that because I already have a default. So we're going to go back to my default and hit apply, and we'll be good to go. So that is your I/O setup in Studio One. Now, once that is all done, you're basically pretty much ready to rock, other than a couple of things. So I would go back to your preferences here, and I would go over to Advanced, and there's a couple of things I would suggest you checking off. Now, this one right here, expand layers after recording takes. This is up to you, meaning when you're recording over a take, after you record over it and you hit pause again, do you see all the layers automatically, or do you have to go click it and expand it? Me personally, I like to go click it and expand it and not see it all right away. But some people, they like to see it immediately, so you just click that and that'll take care of that. There's also other ones that might not be checked off right away. For me, one of the things that I really like is for my tracks and layers to be in different colors. So when I'm doing multiple takes, what that's going to do for me is essentially just allow me to see color-wise which take is which, rather than them being all the same color and just trying to see what the name is. So it'll be like take 1, take 2, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even think this one does take 1, take 2. It just has a little parenthesis number. So the color thing really helps knowing which take is which. apply folder track color to content. So that means is whatever your folder track, your folder color is, whenever you put anything into that folder, it copies that color. I love that for my workflow. I would suggest doing that if you're going to be a mixing engineer. That's very powerful. Now, the next thing you want to do is come on over to MIDI and make sure you have that chase long notes engaged. Okay, the reason when you want to do that is if you play the piano or any MIDI instrument, and then you go to the piano roll and you have the marquee in the middle of the note, and you click play, what you're going to find is you won't hear a thing. The reason for that being is chase long notes is not on. So always have that on and make sure that is clicked on and you'll be fine. Make sure that whatever you do, whatever changes you do here, make sure you hit apply afterwards though. If you click that and you don't hit apply, it will not save that setting. Okay, so what I mean is if I do that, you see how apply lights up. If I check it, I already have that applied. So if I make a change that wasn't there previously, I have to hit apply for Studio One to acknowledge that this is a change it's going to do. Now, the other thing is play overlaps for new audio tracks. This is, I can't stress this enough. Make sure this is unchecked. What this means is when you're doing multiple takes, you know how all of those overlap points, like if you do an overlap point, that means that the main track, the first track, and the overlap track will play at the same time. I don't want that. I want the track that's on top to play. Not all of them being played at the same time. So play overlaps, check it off, make sure it's not on. All right, cool. So the other thing I want to do is talk about PreSonus's app. I'm going to screen record my iPad here. So right now it's screen recording. One thing I realize is nobody talks about this app enough. This thing is pretty darn good. So if I go to the home page, well, just so you see, it looks like this. There's that Studio One thing there. I'm going to click on it. You'll see your laptop. Click on that. And this works a lot like a digital console. So if you've ever been a monitor engineer like me, a lot of times we'll have rack units of mixers for IEMs for in-ear monitors. And oftentimes, the way you control it is through an iPad, and it'll pop up the same way. There'll be an IP address, a password, you log in, and then you control it from there. And so what happens is usually the band members, each one of them with their phones, will download the app and use that same IP address and password to have access to their own aux mixes. So the cool thing is, if you download this app and all the people in your studio download this app, they can control their own cue mixes and you don't have to do a thing as an engineer. I'm going to show you how to do that and make sure you set it up correctly. So we're looking at my DAW now, and one thing, in order to see this better, we're going to click this and make the screen full screen there. So these are our faders, and as you see, I have cue mixes here. Now, if you don't see this, it's because you have not checked on your outputs these right here. So if I hit sub 1 and check that, and hit apply, you'll see another layer pop up back there. But we'll just leave that there for now. Now, the cool thing is, let's say you have a drummer, so you can name him. His name is Alex, right? We're gonna name it Alex, Steve, Lex, and instead of sub 1, we'll say this is Haley's mix, right? So now, if I hit apply, you'll see that all the auxes here have been changed on the screen. So now if I go to the iPad, this is the same thing that will pop up on each of their phones. Let's just change this camera to the big one. But if you look at the iPad right now, you'll see that all the names pop up. So when they download the app, they can go to Cue Mixes and go over here. I can go to Lex, and these are all my sends for Lex. Now, it works just like a console will. When you're trying to send to your monitors, you have to flip the faders, and then when you are done sending it to it, you just basically unflip the faders, and now you're sending to your stereo again. So essentially, when you flip the faders, it's going to your aux sends. When you unflip it, it's going to your stereo. So if you have a stereo mix, you don't want your stereo mix to be affected when you're trying to do a monitor mix. That's where the flip the faders comes in. So if we look back at our main screen here, okay, what you're going to see is cue mixes. If I go under Alex, I could go flip the faders, and you'll see it all turn green. Now, all these little lines right here, they are the sends for Alex's mix. So you see I have hi-hat here. If I bring this down, boom, you see it go down by itself. If the lock is on, that means it's going to follow whatever you have on your master left and right. But by moving this, I've already undid that. So this is Alex's mix. So if I go to Alex's mix on the iPad, boom, Alex, what I can do is I can control it right here as well. So as you see, this is the one we adjusted. I can put it back to regular, boom, 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 because it says hi-hat. I can adjust my kick, whatever, and this is not going to affect my stereo out. This will only affect his mix. So maybe he just doesn't like the way the guitar player plays, or he just doesn't want it that loud, so you could bring it down right there. And as you see on the other screen, that it's in real time being changed. So you could do this for each person. In fact, I'm going to undo the flip to fader so you can see this thing. I'm going to turn it off. Now we're back to our stereo. As you see, nothing was affected. But if you look at these small little things, now let's look at Steve, right? So I'm going to look over here, right here at the green fader where the guitar is. And I'm just going to bring Steve's guitar down, and you'll see that that goes down. So this is very powerful. I would suggest everybody downloading the app, especially if you're working with a band and you guys are trying to record all at the same time, blah, blah. Being able to do this will allow you to make your own cue mixes. Now, the other cool thing is, as the engineer, if you can train your artist to do this, they don't have to talk to you about, hey, I need more guitar, I need more this, I need more that. They can literally just open up the app and do it themselves. So that's what I love about it. So I'm going to reset my I/O. I'm going to go back to reset to default. I have it labeled as whatever my outputs are. That way I know where they're going. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On my interface, I only have 8 outputs at the moment, and that's where it goes up to. That's very powerful. I don't know why people don't talk about this app as much as they should. The other thing is you have all your quick keys right here as well. So if you're not very good at your quick keys, you basically have, a lot of people do like the Elgato Stream Deck. So a lot of people like to do the Elgato Stream Deck and load shortcuts onto there. Well, this app right here essentially is an Elgato Stream Deck. Like I don't browser, I can open the editor, inspector. So essentially it's just a Stream Deck. But it's like if you have an iPad or an iPhone already, it's basically a free free Stream Deck. Now, I don't know if Android has accessibility to this. Knowing PreSonus, I would assume so. So you should be able to do the same thing even if they have Android. And then the cool thing is you can hit record from here. You can do the start and end, go to markers on here. You could do so much with this app, and I feel like it's a shame that nobody talks about it because basically, you know, PreSonus makes fader port, but if you have an iPad, honestly, I don't even know why you would buy a fader port if you have the iPad, because you basically have the faders right here. I can control the volume straight from here, and right now you're seeing the iPad and me moving it, but if you look at the screen, when I move this, the volume on the screen moves too. I don't really have to do much. I can mix just from here alone. So I would say, you know, if you have an iPad, download the app. It's actually pretty darn powerful, and you can do a lot with it. You can even control your reverb, you know. I can control the parameters on there. It might not be fancy, but it's there. The option is there if you need it. So I would always suggest, you know, messing around with these things, trying to understand them more, try to find a more, I would say, clear workflow. I say this is a pretty darn cool workflow. If you get the iPad or you just download the app on your phone, you'll have access to your faders and cue mixes and all that stuff. So it's very nice, very, very smooth integration. You're not going to have a big problem with that. And it just, honestly, if you're going to be working in Studio One, it's not as intuitive as the Logic app, remote app, because you can't do like the step sequencer on that and all that and stuff like you could do in Logic. If PreSonus could update this, because I don't think they've updated it in a very long time, so that you can do your step sequencer on here, and like have a MIDI keyboard on here, then this thing would be even better. But as of now, as far as I know, you can't. So one of the things I would say is for default is with your impact. Okay, um, you see all these little numbers here, all these little numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Those are all different outputs. And what I would do is when you first load in your D8, your impact. Okay, so I would come to instrument, and then let's just go ahead, instruments. Boom, let's get rid of that there. We can get impact this way. Boom, 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 boom. Where are you? There we go, impact. So I can load impact here. And right now, by default, all of them are going through different outputs. And the reason I can do that is because I went ahead and put all of them to different outputs, and then I hit this little thing right here, and then I hit store as default preset. Okay, what that means is every time you open an instance of impact, it'll always have that specific thing, those pads to different outputs. So now when I go down here in the fader, if I hit this folder, every single part is going to go to a different thing. So as you see here, I've already kind of labeled some of it. I think this is my kick here, and I think I have a rim shot like on 13, I believe, right now. So I'll just label those. Now the one thing I wish Studio One could do is have all the impact color follow suit on all the rest of the faders. I don't know why, but it doesn't let me do that. Like have all these here follow the same color as the main one. I feel like that should just be an automatic thing. Maybe there's a way to do it, but as of now, I don't know how to do it. So that's one thing for sure that I would suggest doing. Now, the other thing is we're going to go to our quick keys. So quick keys that I think you should put together a little bit. So one of those things is explode pitches to tracks. I have that on Control E. That's something that's not being used by Studio One automatically. That's something that you're going to use a lot. Another one would be transpose. If I could spell that right. All right, so transpose right here. I would do the musical. I believe it's the musical function or up and down. Okay, so as you see, I have Control down arrow and Control up arrow. What that means is if I solo this here, okay, now what I can do is I can hold Control and go down, and you'll see this meter down here, transpose window, go down. Or I can go up. And just having that on a quick key is so nice, okay? So I would suggest definitely doing that as well, other than your impact setup. Having that transpose function, if you're someone who likes to chop things up, I think that's a must, okay? Now, one thing to note, if you do, the thing that sucks about Studio One is when you do the impact and you split all the notes by pitch, unfortunately, this right here is still just the main impact fader. So whatever you throw on there would be to here. So if you want to mix just the hi-hat, you have to go to the mixer window, the console, and then come over here and put in your inserts there. There's no other way to do it. There you go, guys. That's what I would do in Studio One, some of the settings that I would set up, just so that you can move a little bit more efficiently. Now, once you guys get into Studio One, you might not like the look of it. So one thing I want to show you is kind of how I got my look to be what it was. So I'm going to look at my DAW here. You want to customize your DAW so it looks cool, so you're attracted to it, you want to use it more. If you go to general, actually I would think it would be on general, and let's see, appearance, okay? If I go to my load preset here, GYB color Scheme 2024. I do have Swap City. If you want to download the same color scheme that I do, I will put it here in the Exchange. But essentially, there are so many presets ready to go in the Exchange, meaning if you come over here to this tab on, let's make sure that you have the screen. Okay, so, oh, wrong one. So if I come over here to the browser and I come to the cloud, to the PreSonus Exchange, color palettes, and these are all different color palettes I could just pull up at any time, download and install and see what it looks like. So these are all really cool. You can, if there's a Studio One user that you like the way theirs looks, you can copy it. See, this one is supposed to look like Logic Pro. You can do that. I'm not going to change mine. I like mine. But mine, I basically based it off of, I forget his name. He's actually works for PreSonus, and so he made this preset, the GYB color scheme 2024. So actually, I have this preset stored, I believe, already. So I should be able to just hit this and we're good. But if I hit this one, see, there you go. So there's the GBY color scheme 2024. And then I just move the color scheme down, and then I get to Chelito Suave, which is the purple, the Suave City one. So I'm going to probably add it to the Exchange so that you guys can use my color scheme if you like it. But if not, I would suggest start off with the GBY color scheme 2024. As you see, it's actually pretty darn good. It's just about whether or not you like it. So this is my setting. That's what I like to have it as. Purple, because this purple and red are my favorite colors, and it makes me want to open up Studio One more. So that's the other thing I want to show you guys. Make sure you customize it, make it look your way. It is helpful to just download a color scheme that already works. So if I go GBY, and then you'll see there's the 2020 color scheme. I'm actually kind of curious. Let's go ahead and install 2020 color scheme. It's simple as that. Now it's downloaded. Let's go 2021. These are all different color schemes, and now I can come over here to Preferences and Appearance, Load Preset, and I could try 2021 color scheme. That one's different. 2020, 2024. They're all just kind of slightly different, you know, and you can kind of build off your stuff based off of that. Now, the other thing I want to show you is if you see the grid lines, they're kind of shining through the audio and the MIDI takes here. The reason for that being is if you go to Preferences and you go to, I believe, Advanced, and you go to, there's a thing about the grid. I'm trying to remember where it is at the moment. Console, blah, blah, grid. I'm trying to remember exactly where it is. I think it's here somewhere on the appearance. But basically, when you have the grid lines more prominent, it's easy to see where your wave is and whether or not it's on time. So if you want to snap things a little bit more to the grid, it's very easy to see it. Your colors won't be as bright, but it will allow you to see exactly where your wave lines up on the grid and whether or not it's in time. So you see, it's very easy to tell, but you could disable that if you don't want it. I like to have it on. It makes my colors a little bit dimmer, but I'm totally fine with that so that I can see the grid lines. So once again, I've been Chelito Suave. Welcome to Suave City. The Discord is now live. Please hit subscribe and join us here. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.